So back in 2001, you released one of the best worship albums, Michael, simply just titled Worship. And we've talked about this before several times on our show with other musicians and artists, and how that album and probably Sonic Flood's first album pretty much launched the worship movement in the CCM world, and set the tone. And it was basically after that album, a lot of other artists started releasing worship albums. And so I know you recently released like a reimagined version of that album called Worship Forever. And so could you, I've heard your story before, you were telling it on TV, but why you had that desire and that stirring in your spirit to make that worship album back in 01.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's a long story. The short story is I did a worship event at GMA in Nashville, and a lot of people kind of felt like that the CCM industry kind of lost its way. It was all who's number one, who's selling the most records. And somebody came up to me. I've been a worship leader at my church 19 years before I ever did a worship vertical record. So I think that's interesting. But whatever. They said, why don't we start off with GMA with a worship night? And we'll do it at the famous Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. And I said, well, just give me some creative control, because what I want to do is I want to invite every artist from the industry to come and be in the choir. Drop your ego at the door. We're all going to do this together. And that whole night I felt like Jesus was coming back. It was the presence of God was so thick, and it was incredible. And then for the next 3 months, I kept waking up in the middle of the night and the voice of God telling me, for such a time as this. And I actually wrestled with God over it. I'm not going to do it. What are people going to think? I'm jumping on the worship thing. And, it's a crazy story. I've written about it twice in some books that I've published lately, but I finally said yes. And so I went to Lakeland, Florida in July of 2001. I took a bunch of artists with me, and I just picked out what I thought were the best worship songs. I've only got one song on that record that I wrote, and it's Agnus Dei. Everything else is Open the Eyes, Draw Me Close, Above All, Let It Rain, just to name a few. And then I remember we all walked off the stage, and we went backstage, and we just wept. We just cried. And we thought, oh my gosh, what just happened out there? And fortunately and gratefully, it got captured on a CD. We captured the spirit of what happened. And then the big thing is the record was released on 9/11. Mm-hmm. It came out on when we got attacked on 9/11. That was the release day.
Right.
And so I think it became a healing record for our nation on some level. But the crazy thing is that record somehow, for some reason, it's God. That's what it really is. It found its way on every continent in the world. And everywhere I go, whether it's South Africa or South Korea or Denmark or Romania or Australia, you name it, everybody, I'm saying everybody, but it seems like everybody knows every song to that record. And I was just in Vietnam just last week, and here we got 23,000 people singing Above All and Agnus Dei in Vietnamese and English at the same time. Takes your breath away. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
So, it's a crazy story. So saying all that, my wild ideas, I have crazy ideas. Some of them don't stick, but I thought, why don't we go reimagine that record 20 years later? Let my girls, Anna and Emily, open up with scripture like they did at 6 and 8. And now they're 28 and 30. Now they're 26 and 28. Or maybe it was 8 and 10. Now they're 28 and 30. And then do that whole record, but do it with a full symphony orchestra and 16 singers. And that's what we did.
Yeah, I absolutely love the new reimagined version. And I believe you said in an interview that you didn't really want you didn't want it to be about people. You wanted it to be about God, obviously, but that's why you didn't have a whole lot of special guests and stuff. You just had a few, you only had like 2 or 3, I believe. You had Amy and Torrin and Matt, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't really want a bunch of people on there. You just wanted it kind of,
I just
speak
want
for
to keep it
itself.
simple.
So
We didn't introduce anybody. We just kept it pretty vertical, just the spirit of the night, and everybody was good with it. I mean, I obviously wanted to have Matt because he wrote The Heart of Worship, which is still one of my favorite worship songs of all time.
absolutely.
And then obviously my relationship with Amy over the years. And then I would say
Yeah.
Torrin, he's kind of the new kid on the block, you know, and he's just got this amazing voice, but I love his heart. And because I kept thinking, wouldn't it be great to have somebody sing More Love, More Power? Which that song was that song was not even on the song list in Lakeland, Florida. We finished, I think it was Agnus Day, we finished and like we were done and nobody would leave. And I'm going, oh, and you could hear me, if you listen to that first worship album, you could hear me doodle on the piano because I'm going, oh gosh, what are we going to do? We need to do another song. I don't know what we're going to do. And you could hear me sort of trying to find my way because right in the middle of that moment, I kept hearing it in my head, more love, more power. Okay, we got to find a good key. We got to find a good key. And then I randomly went into More Love, More Power. Half the band had never played it in their life. And
you would have never known that they didn't,
it was a good moment. And then I just thought, oh, wouldn't that be great? And I had this wild idea on the Reimagine to do a step and a half down, which is a John Williams trick. It's a beautiful music trick that John Williams does. And we modulate and just let Torrin just absolutely take it